Yeah, so we'll see the IPCC updated regions for concerns, like this diagram. So it is given over here on this, like a scale. So it starts, like a 0, at this, plus minus 0, and slowly it is increasing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So global mean temperature change. Okay, so that like a change is given over here, related to centigrade related to 1986 to 2005. So in relation to that, so this is this range, and we have like these concerns like listed down over these like verticals. Okay, so you can see RFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in these there are like these color codes you can refer over here. Okay, global key risks. Well, what are those? Like by like these examples: biodiversity by this frog, coral reef, mountain systems, Arctic systems, heat wave, extreme precipitation, agriculture, economic damages, human health, water stress, Greenland ice sheet, and Arctic ice sheet, right? So these ones you can see if it happens at the range of here. So already, if we see in this range and below, this this coral reefs and this Arctic systems, they are like below this level, and this mountain system is right at there, and coral on the in this range, and human health also in this range. So RFC2. So risk to unique and threatened systems, risk associated with extreme weather events, risk associated with distribution of impacts, risk associated with global aggregate impacts, risk associated with large scale singular events. Okay, so unique and threatened systems already, if you see, we have kind of like with the 0 degrees also, it has already it has surpassed. Okay, and then at the next level we have biodiversity, coral reefs again, and like Arctic systems in this side, right? So high and medium. So this is divided into two. So in the high, and like again here also this is high, and here we have this high, and this one is in the medium range, RFC2. So with this color, global key risks also you can refer from this scale. There are actually multiple things in the same like this graphic, represented through one graphic. Okay, yeah. So yeah, and this color actually notation on this scale, if you see, undetectable, this white range, to yellow moderate to red high, and this purple violet in very high. Okay, so in this one, if you see, this very high is coming, like much sooner, right somewhere at this level itself, right? And this one red is spreading more, and this one is lighter and lighter, little more lighter. Okay, so the lightest I found in here, risk associated with large scale singular events. Okay, in RFC 5, where these ranges are also like a little above on this and this one, right? So this talks about like what could be the like a burning like a concern, like a most critical like a concerns at global level, like if they collapse, like a huge like an issues will rise up, like if biodiversity collapse happened, then it threatens the like agricultural systems, forestry, and all of those things, plantations. If coral reefs actually die, the whole ecosystem is going to get like disseminated along with its any other life forms, and so on. Maybe you can refer like this source and see it in detail for your understanding. This is an interesting like a diagram. Then we have links from increased GHG emissions to human impacts, causes and effects. So increased emissions, the major region, that is giving lots of different like effects: rising surface temperatures, rising sea levels, more acidic oceans, change in local rainfalls and river runoff pattern, accelerated species extinction, loss of biodiversity and ecosystem services. And these are collectively leading to many degradations, like see environmental degradations. Okay, melting of glaciers, shore retreats, salinization, desertification, water events, then extreme events, floods, droughts, storms, cyclones, heat waves, etc. Then risk of large scale tipping point events such as like melting ice sheets, and dieback of forests, shutdown of streams, all of these things are happening. Then overall impact of on the humans, if you see, of all of these events, there is issues related to food security. We discussed in the first and second one and many other SDGs. But whatever happens, there is a first and foremost impact on the food security, like agricultural supplies, food supplies, and all of that. Health, a lot of people are going to get diseased, malnutrition, diarrhea, cardiovascular, situations also might arise, etc. Then poverty related thing, all of these instabilities and things are going to, push, many people into, loss of jobs and opportunities, work opportunities. Water, yeah, scarcity of fresh water. Displacement, there will be, like a forced migration of, people from places. Security, yeah, in the, like a civic sense, public administration, everywhere, like a instabilities, like a civil wars, like a armed conflicts. All of these things are actually possible, and many of such things are happening even right now in different parts of the world, if you look at. So here we have some strategic framework for climate action. Let's see. So the approach, like a collaborative approach, evidence-based, innovative, inclusive. So on the law and policy, operations, and UNSCR's environmental footprint. These are the, like objectives, prepared. There are 5 I see. Okay. So the first one talks about guide the interpretation and application of relevant legal and policy frameworks, develop guidance and catalyze international discussions, preserve and rehabilitate the natural environments and mitigate environmental degradation in displacement settings, enhance the resilience of displaced people and host communities to climate related and other environmental risks, strengthen preparedness, anticipatory action and response to support protection and solutions for people displaced and their host in disaster situations, improve UNSCR's environmental sustainability by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and minimizing negative impacts on the environment. And the picture, if you see below, okay, so this is like a camp, like a refugee camp kind of setup, like setup in Sudan, Darfur, okay, and the name is Jabal, like a camp. Okay, so you see these, like a settlements. There is a road, going in between, and then there are these dens, like a settlements, and it looks like, like a very raw desert kind of like a place with very little, like green and almost nil blue, like element. This whole setup is established. Okay, so these are the like a pictures of humanitarian crisis, like an ongoing in different parts of the world. Well, on the clean energy challenge, okay, so this is a picture, of the changed scenario. This is from 2017 to 19. This is from Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. How the greening has actually taken place. Okay, so you see this place, soil, exposed soil, and in the later 2 years, period, you see this big change of, like a several trees coming up, in all of this place and changing the whole landscape, right? So it's not that, things are not possible. Definitely things are possible. If there is right intent and efforts in right direction, definitely things are possible. So some challenges on clean energy front. Clean energy challenge seeks to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy for all refugee settlements and nearby host communities by 2030. Under the Global Plan of Action, UNSCR is steering this multi-stakeholder approach to achieving clean energy solutions for refugees and host communities. The action group of the challenge has over 50 members, including member states, international organizations, private sector companies and NGOs. The initiative is designed to be self-sustaining with contributions from its members. Well, outcome areas. Priority areas needs of refugee household in emergencies, cooking, lighting and heating, that can be, executed swiftly. Refugees and host communities have sufficient access to safe, sustainable energy to cook 3 daily meals. Refugees have access to 200, watt hour per household per day, allowing for basic lighting and connectivity. Energy efficient technologies and renewable energy are used to meet the electricity needs of communities, centralized water supplies, street lighting, educational and health facilities, and humanitarian support facilities such as offices and staff accommodation. So moving on, in this figure we will see process links between international commitments on climate change and sustainable development. Circles represent the overlapping subject matter scope of each set of commitments. For example, the scope of 2030 agenda includes climate change, which is the principal focus of 2015 Paris Agreement, right? So this is the Paris Agreement, nationally determined contribution indices. Then we have other agreements also in parallel, Sendai Framework, Convention on Biological Diversity, etc., etc. And overall, there are even more, like agenda, like 2030 agenda, Addis Ababa Action Agenda, and all of these. So these are the efforts. You can call it as like a encircle this thing, okay. And here we have, like a national coordinating strategies for climate change, like sustainable development, etc. So this is actually taking help from this, and you can devise your own national, like action plans also. Plus specifically like regional, in intra-national, specific national policy domains. So more than one, like a policy domains can be created based on maybe industrial sector or sections of the society, or maybe regions of the like a country, etc., etc., right? So these are all actually helping each other, to create like those kind of cohesive frameworks. Yeah, so climate action, if you see, it is divided into like 1, 2, 3. 3, strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity, integrate climate measures in policy making, they improve climate change, education, awareness raising and capacity here. So inside this you can see 38% mainstreaming, okay. Here we have 24% awareness raising on climate change, 12% adaptive capacity, then strengthen institutional capacity by adaptation 9%, disaster and risk reduction 7%, strengthen 5%, early warning systems at 3%, and others will be here. So inside this, if you see, 5 targets and indicators: strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity, integrate climate change measures into national policies, improve education, awareness, etc., implement the commitment taken by developed country priorities to the United Nations framework, UNFCCC, and promote mechanisms for raising capacity for effective climate change. So finally, some challenges and solutions. So if you see, anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions, have increased since pre-industrial era, driven largely by economic and population growth, and are now higher than ever, largest than ever. Solution: simply cut down onto this, So there are like many such forums, commitments and summits, etc. Like countries have pledged to to reduce gradually. One of them is Paris Agreement and many others. The world is warming overall, I think we have seen, at an alarming rate, damaging our ability to grow food and impacts on like various fronts. Simply reduce emissions, innovate and adopt technological solutions to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Storms, floods and hurricanes, droughts, etc. are intensifying. Their frequencies are increasing. Their peaks and troughs are also increasing. They are getting higher and higher. Warming, becoming more acid, ice is disappearing, seas are rising. All of those impacts. So overall, if you see, these impacts can be reduced by a collective approach. We have discussed in the like a lesson plan in this module, right? And we can safeguard our society and most vulnerable groups also from the impacts of climate change. So as a phenomena, I hope this is clear to you all now, like why is it happening, how is it happening, what needs to be done, etc. So maybe at your own like a local level, you can take help of assignments, and you can make a small project on studying what are the like regions behind maybe some unusual occurrences which are resultant of climate change in your locality, and maybe you can look for local solutions how this can be addressed. That will be a wonderful exercise, and maybe if possible you can take it ahead in your own community vicinity with the help of public administrators, different NGOs, organizations, etc., to take it forward for implementation. So with this, I wish you all the best, and thank you all for joining this module. We'll see you in the next one.